Hey crafty babes, Andrea back again for another little look inside my 2018 Family 6x8 album. I have already shown videos through week 4. Anyway, I think we're almost done with January. We're about at the end of January here. So yeah, let's just continue on and I will continue showing you all the things that I've done in my album, which is, as you can see, super thick. This is already half and half here. We're about halfway through the album and only at January. So I kind of had to hustle and condense some things toward the end, but that is okay. I'm using a lot of Traveler's Notebook sized papers because I have a lot of them and I'm not doing strictly Traveler's Notebook layouts. So they're really nice to be able to put in here because the height is just absolutely perfect, and then they can make for some really quick and easy layouts. So here I just used this picture of a story that I posted in my Instagram stories and just did a little you know, triangle of embellishments here, and used some really fun and older supplies that have been sitting in my stash for a while, and the purpose of them was, you know, basically to just match the quilt as much as I could. And this Traveler's Notebook paper here is from Kelly Perky when I was subscribing to the Traveler's Notebook kit, and it's super fun. I really miss it. But I have so many. I have so much stuff. This project is really getting me to use a lot of my stuff without having to buy a bunch of new stuff, which is really fun. On the other side, I did a page about tacos because tacos. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave that there. But I finally got to use this taco paper from Kelly Perky. It was the first kit that I got from her when I started subscribing to the Project Life kit. So good stuff. Finally got to use my taco paper. This is a page they did. Sometimes when Matt is filming on location, he will send me pictures of, you know, his camera or the back of his camera so that I can see what shot he has. And he'll take pictures of like the scenery that he's filming, or, you know, something fun and interesting that he thinks I would enjoy. And then I can throw those in my memory keeping, since, you know, it's his life too. So I really had so much fun with this layout because, again, kind of out of my comfort zone. But I used some black acrylic paint back here and I smushed it on first with the paint card. And then I used a semi-wet paper towel to like just kind of add a little bit of texture, or not really texture, but like a different look. I don't speak mixed media language, so I'm not saying the right words. I know it, but that's okay. I put a little half a tag back here and stamped the date on it and put a little twine at the end. I used a little ticket from In a Creative Bubble, and I did some like messy tears and layering here. And then one of my very favorite LE Studio stamps is this little 4 arrow thing. And then I used some big, what are these called? Thickers. Wow, get it together, Dre, get it together. And that was just fun to do, painting and just easy stuff. Here I did a scrap lift, and I at this moment cannot remember which layout it was that I scrap lifted and who I scrap lifted it from, but I loved the look of like the spread outedness, that is not a real word, but I'm just making it up, of like the card and the photo and the embellishments kind of just look like they're like all nicely just laid out, even though this took a lot of work. But I used some paints and a little tag ticket thing to kind of spread out some of this blue, bright blue color, and then used some red all around. And this is just a picture of Marshall reading one of his books. And that doesn't happen very often, that he is enthralled with a book. And so when he asked if he could read a little bit more, of course, got to document that. This is another layout that I scrap lifted from someone because I really liked the idea of all these strips of paper going vertically with kind of everything like the photo and the embellishments being centered within that cluster of papers. So this was really super fun to do and find just, you know, a few colors to use and then tucking little things here and there. And just, I'm experimenting a lot more with different layout styles, and that's becoming super fun for me. Super easy layout. I used some digital stuff from Print and Pray Shop from Elaine Davis. This one is called Wild Calling, and I had some scraps left over because I basically killed every part of what I printed from this kit months ago, because it's just the blues and the oranges and this like lighter color mint. Just, I used it as many times as I could, but it went so perfectly with this sweater that I had just recently bought. So I just did a whole spread using a pocket page and a full page, and just used anything that was the same color, which was really fun. And that like kind of just has no meaning, but other than, you know, I was leaving work on a Friday afternoon and I was just saying here, happiness is heading home to my place of grace. That's just, home is my favorite place. So that was really fun to do. Another full page and pocket spread. Here was a picture of me as I had just gotten back into running, and took this photo with all this space of the trail behind me, and then wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. But when I posted on my stories, I used the space for obviously putting some text and stuff. And then when I was getting ready to print my photos, I decided that this was probably where I needed to put the journaling, because I knew that the journaling I had put in my post when I posted this on my actual feed was pretty long. So I just copied it from there and pasted it in here, and then formatted all the words so that it all fit nicely. And then I just used yellows and greens and, you know, like tan colors, neutrals, for the photos that I took while we were out. And this was really fun page. This was this same photo, but I needed something to go here because I didn't have anything else to go before this, and it just looked really nice. So I just threw this photo in as a big option, because I had printed both, just because I wasn't sure exactly which one I would use for my big photo. Sometimes I do print, you know, one big and one small, just so that I have options while I'm working on my pages. And then the one that I don't use, I just throw into a little bin of unused photos, and those get used for, you know, school projects for the kids, or mini albums for something, or, you know, I just kind of stash them away. And this is a layout that I did, just the purpose was to just have everything kind of running down the center again and just kind of stacking. So that's what I did. And I used some Felicity Jane here, and I think this is a Tracy Reed paper, and then a floral from Carrie Bradford. I think that's from Carrie Bradford too. No matting, no fluffing or layering or any of that, but I did use some more of the stitches from Print and Pray Shop from Illustrated Faith, and these are super fun to use. Here was just a simple little layering of some tags and labels of this really cute picture of Charlie, just of course being adorable. These two little pieces, Everyday Pursuits and Cozy Companion, were from Citrus Twist Kits, and they just went perfectly. This was an Ellie Studio project that I did as well. It was February 4th, and it was 75 degrees, and Marshall wanted to go swimming. So he got in the pool, and I did my nails. I did my toes while we were sitting poolside. The water was not warm, by the way. He just decided it was warm enough to go in, and he stayed in for about 15 or 20 minutes and then decided it was time to go. So in my previous video for the week of, well, for basically the rest of January, I talked about a weekly recap, but I realized now that I didn't use it until now. And so this, a similar version of this, I have redone it a little bit since I printed it and used it for my own, but this is available in my shop at retrohipshop.com. So this is supposed to be just a weekly recap of what your week looked like.
Incoming ad, incoming ad, incoming ad. Are you prepared for the ad? Good, because I'm going to force it. Hi, how are you? So, go look at my mom's shop. She's got all the craftiest of crafty things in the whole crafty world, because life. If you don't, you won't ever look Craftlicious today. Ever again. Bye now. Ad turning off. Okay, bye.
Oh, goodness. Thank you for that, Marshall.
You are welcome.
Yes. This is available in my shop. Yes, as a digital download, and you can print as many as you like and fill it in so that it's just a really quick, easy recap in case there are things on here that you want to fill in as the week goes, and then you can use it to refer to your week when you scrapbook. Or if you want to use it for the smaller stories that don't necessarily get a full page. It's completely up to you, but I thought that it would be really fun to have a little line for each day of the week, and then to have a couple of places for like the meals that we eat, something funny somebody said, activities that we did, or shows that we watched, because those are pretty much the things that happen regularly around our house. Here is another grid layout. As you can tell, totally digging on the grids. And this one was just really super fun because I had these two pictures and they had gray and brown in them. And then I also had this weather screenshot and it has yellow in it. So I always like printing these out because they have yellow and I love yellow. And so it gives me an opportunity to use yellow in my scrapbooks. So really fun to just pull some grays and browns and just document time to be at home and that I was just having a blast. I don't even know what I was cooking, but Charlie was clearly helping me. This is a page about the SpaceX that we watched when that was launched. We watched the whole thing and we got to have lots of fun conversations about science and space and all that fun stuff. So I did, not my favorite layout, but I just wanted to get those two pictures documented and document the date. This photo was taken for a Thursday 3 with Are You Kristen? If you're not familiar with that project on Instagram, it's a hashtag where you share a selfie and 3 things about yourself right now, and then you tag 3 of your friends to do the same. So every week, all of us crafty girls, we love our selfies and we love our friends. So we always participate as often as possible. I know I do. But this was just a photo that I took at my desk at work. And what I love most about this layout is that I went back to my old school title making days where before I had a silhouette, I would just draw out some letters and hand cut them or use my X-Acto knife. And what I decided to do here was actually use some thickers, or they weren't thickers, they were a different kind of chipboard alpha that I had. And I don't have many of them left, but what I do have is the empty negatives of the, the sheet. And so I just flipped this paper on its back and put the cardstock, or not cardstock, the chipboard over it backwards as if it were a stencil. I just use it as a stencil, use my pencil to stencil out the letters and then cut them out. And I really enjoyed that. It felt like old school. Since I don't have my silhouette out anymore, I think I'll start doing that a little bit more because I really had fun with it. This next page is not my favorite, but I was just really trying to use something themey for what this picture was about, and this wasn't working at all, but I was already into it and I just figured I needed to just make the best of it that I could. So there it is. We're not going to talk about it. This is a really fun layout that I did for LE Studio recently. And it's just, again, one of those like collage-y, full of embellishments. It was this picture of Marshall and I playing Trivial Pursuit. And so I used the wedge idea to do the colors. So that way I could use a bunch of all the really fun new stuff from the Noteworthy kit and the April kit. And this was so fun to do. When I had to start gluing everything down, it made me a little sad because then I knew it was going to be over soon. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, do you also have so much fun putting the layout together, and then when you're starting to glue stuff down, you're like, oh, it's like the end. Anyway, that was super fun. And here is a redesigned version of the weekly recap. And I left some room on the side of the day of the week so that you could write the number, because in the previous version I hadn't left a room for that. So yeah, sometimes they get filled out and sometimes they do not. And sometimes it's just a couple of things, but it's helpful. And then also in this album, it's helpful to keep track. So I know that this was week 6 now, or was week 6 because it's the recap. So clearly this is week 7. I have written it here. And this is a little layout about how everybody in my house was sick. It was not really fun, but I did enjoy being able to have more time at home with everyone just resting and recovering. So this was the beginning stages of our medicine. Eventually, we had so much different medicine because we were all sick with different symptoms at different stages, that we had my vintage cake plate on the counter, and it was just this big circle like a lazy Susan full of medication for everybody's different symptoms. So all of the month of February, basically, we were all kind of sick. One of us or another, or all of us, and it was kind of miserable. But so here's just another little layout about kind of the 15th, 16th, and 17th. We were just sick. I was homesick. Marshall was homesick. Gibson was homesick. Matt was suffering while he was trying to work from home, and just it was rough. But we watched a lot of movies, which was fun. Marshall did not want to watch Narnia with Gibson and I, but we enjoyed it. And then Marshall and I watched Deathly Hallows, because that's his favorite one. And then when I was home sick by myself, when the boys, at some point they were well and I was sick, and the boys were all home, at school, I watched Twilight movies all by myself and loved every moment of it. Here is a really, really, really super fun and favorite page of mine, is when I bought Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers on vinyl, and it was just like such a happy day. And I used this card from Citrus Twist Kits that has this blank space and says, "Is a form of happiness." Well, I put vinyl because vinyl is definitely a form of happiness. And I liked that these tickets here kind of matched the yellow, and it was just easy to have that work into, into the pockets. It worked out. I like when that happens. Here on this page, I just printed the photo of these flowers and did not put it into a pocket page or anything. Well, not a pocket page, but a 6x8 page protector. I just did some stacking here of little labels, did some dates, and I wrote spring inside, and then on the other side it was frosty and I said winter outside because it was sunny, but it was freezing overnight, and so I got this really pretty picture of the frost on the leaves, and that's about as cold as it gets for us. We don't get snow or anything, so little tiny bits of frost like that excite us in California. This was a grid page that I did about a couple of dental visits for Marshall. This was the first visit, and he does not appreciate the dentist at all. Doesn't like any part of it, but he had to go back and have some a deep cleaning done, and so I had to get him some ice cream because he behaved and did as best as he could, which was still involved a lot of crying, which is sad. Just is not fun for him at all. But I like the layout and he got ice cream. Here is a layout that I use using Make a Pretty Life and Fancy Pants Designs goodies. This was just all about, we had been on a smoothie kick, and just wanted to document that we all really were enjoying smoothies for this period of time. Matt does appear in my albums because he is part of this family, even though he doesn't make it in very often. But these are the things that he'll do, is he'll take pictures for me and send them to me so that way he gets in the albums. Here on this side, I used some paper from, oh, this was from, I think, one of the summer camps from Illustrated Faith. I forget what it was called. Anyway, I used a piece of the paper and this photo of Gibson and I sitting in front of my mirror in my bedroom hallway, just hanging out, just chilling, playing with the dog. I just make little simple journaling, sometimes just because that's all that it needs. This was the beginning of week 8, I'm guessing. And so I put a sticky there because I don't really know. Maybe I just need to remind myself. This was just 2 pictures of Gibson going to the ATM because, you know, he works and he has a job and he puts money into his bank account. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have a near adult and it's kind of crazy. And then this is a Instagram picture that he sent, and it says, just your local dad out here doing local dad stuff. And he was just making scrambled eggs for himself. I don't know. He's just dad jokes. So that was the title of this layout. Oh, okay. So these pictures that are in here are of Matt and his friend building Matt's new computer. And I just need to kind of do that spread. And then that is the end of week 8. And then week 9 is us seeing Black Panther. So I did this like dinner and a movie thing where I just did a grid and made it like super simple on this grid paper. Yeah, that's about it. Like super simple. I just stamped the date in these little generation stamp off kind of things. Made it super easy. And I took this picture of Gibson and I looking like, I swear, now that I look at this when I was working on it, because he's got a hat on and he's kind of looking down, it just seriously looks like one of those security camera pictures. But we were checking out and we promised that we did not steal anything. But it was really fun to do this grid layout. Again, like this is just kind of, you'll see the progression of this continue on. I chopped this card off just so that there was some red in it and this little heart. And this is an Ellie Studio card that says eat, sleep, blank, repeat. So of course I put Target because that's just life. This was a really pretty picture I took one morning out in the little grassy area outside of our house. And the little March word from Ellie Studio, which is kind of perfect right there to just say, okay, it's March now. In the book, it's March. I took this picture against the full-length mirror that I have at my office and thought it would be really fun to do like something about standing or something about my chucks. I wasn't really sure exactly what the theme would be, but then Illustrated Faith, the print and pray shop, Elaine Davis put out this kind of like speak out, stand up kind of themed kit, and I just thought that that would be perfect. It had all the navies in it, and I thought it would be perfect to just talk about how I will always stand up for Jesus and just do my best to speak courageously and strongly about my faith. And so this was a really fun layout to use. All those beautiful colors. Speaking of more beautiful colors, this layout was really fun, and I'm happy to get back into pockets a little bit more. You'll see that there's a bit more pocket pages happening at the end of this because I was really trying to A, use up some of my cards, and B, just kind of make things simple and not have to think about layering and layouts and backgrounds and stuff like that. Because I was really trying to hustle. I was feeling a little bit behind and I really wanted to catch up on March. So I just used the colors from my nails and my shirt and used a couple of older supplies. And actually this is sitting right on top. Both of these are on top and I just glued them right to the outside of the pocket. Oh, and see, look, now I shouldn't be folding that. It just popped to the little other side off. This is the view of our town from a really high up place where Matt and I went to go do some filming with his drone for a work project that he was doing. And we took Charlie up there, and so I took some pictures, obviously. So that was really fun to use just orange and pink, and who knew that those would go so well together, but they look good, I think. This page here is of a little date that Gibson and I went on to the mall, we had to go to the Apple store. And when we go to the mall, we always go to Wetzel's Pretzels because they have salted pretzels that you obviously have to dip in mustard and cinnamon. So good. Butter and cinnamon or butter and salt. And they're like these little tiny soft pretzel bites. So good. Yum, yum. Here I was just kind of using this page as like a jumping off point. I didn't have any photos or anything, just one of those like, here's week 11. So sometimes you'll see that I have the thoughts to include keeping track of what week we're on, and sometimes I don't. But that's what this is all about. This project is like willy-nilly. It's kind of like whatevs. And that's what I love so much about it. This was a really fun picture. Marshall put his hat on Charlie's head, and she did not seem thrilled, but she also did not fight or claw it off. So that was really fun. So I just did this really cute blue and black and brown layout to just say how funny it was. In my post on Instagram, somebody said, well, obviously that's now Marley whenever the hat goes on to Charlie. So we renamed her Marley when the hat goes on. And these are two photos that are unrelated, but they just were both kind of Marshall and within the same week. So I just decided to use them both together. And one of them was black and white, and then that way I could just use the colors from this one. And I just, you know, he's a crazy kid, and I like to document his craziness. So this is him laying on the garbage bags. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that last week he wanted me to take a picture of him on the toilet paper. So I have a feeling we're gonna have some more of those. Here is surprisingly another layout about tacos, because tacos. So that's just fun. And I just use the colors within my photo, the green and the orange, and just made some embellishments work with the colors. I don't really know what I'm saying, but it was really fun. And I'm loving being back in pockets a bit more. I took this picture of this beautiful rainbow right after we had a big storm. So to just make it really easy, I just used a couple of word strips from Ellie's Studio and then a couple of cards also from Ellie's Studio. This layout here I just shared recently in my Instagram feed, and it was real simple. I just wanted to focus on the photo. I didn't want a lot of color going on because the photo itself is really busy, and it's not like my favorite photo because it's hard to tell what it is, but it's Marshall looking at our old scrapbooks. He wanted to know about our history, and so I thought that would be a fun place to start. So I just used a wood grain background, and then just to add some softness, I used this vellum, this is a transparency with white polka dots on it. I just got this at Michael's, and so I've just been kind of cutting it up as I go, using it along in different projects. And then I just put the photo right on top of it and used a couple of different little words to just have some striking parts to the layout, but not overwhelm the layout, if you know what I mean. This was a really fun grid layout that I did. Let's see if I can make this there. I don't know why the thing got scooted back so much. Okay then, where was I? This layout, super fun. One picture of Gibson driving away to go to school in front of me as we left at the same time. And I just really wanted to document that it's exciting and kind of terrifying at the same time, you know, to watch your kid kind of drive off on their own. But he'd been driving for a while at this point, but still. And then I just used whatever colors I wanted, basically, because I had no color in the photo. So I just kind of used gray for the base, like the background and these three elements, and then everything else got, you know, basically like a mint orange peachish kind of treatment, which is super fun to use just kind of whatever colors I want. That's what I'm loving about this. here, Marshall was in the nurse's office because he wasn't feeling very well. So I went and picked him up, and school is like an 8-minute drive from home, and he fell asleep on the way home. So I just did a little documenting, and I used these little plus signs, you know, to kind of denote like a medical thing, which it was not just a big deal. He was overtired and kind of out of energy, and you know, just wasn't feeling super hot. So all I did here was used a little label. I stamped staying in, and then I just stamped the date. Made it really simple. You can see that these are getting pretty simple as we near the end of March. This one here, I had a couple of photos of this major downpour that we had, and then one of our major streets in town completely flooded, and Marshall couldn't get to school. And cars were trying to get through it, and it was kind of a mess. And so I just used some fun stuff from the April kit from Make a Pretty Life. And these are from this little umbrella here is from the Fancy Pants Designs kit, the die cut kit. And a couple more here, and then we'll be all finished with this book. This is Us. These are actually all from Ellie's studio, and just I used the 2 black and white photos that, you know, are not related, but one's of Marshall getting some new Beyblade toys and one's of Charlie and Gibson snuggling, and I just said my favorite days are the days when everyone is happy. And I just used some white small alpha stickers and then outlined them in the blue that I did the journaling on, or journaling with, so that it felt like it went together. And the other little thing I did here was I took the blue pen and I ran it across one of the green lines on top and one of the green lines on the bottom, and did a little squigglies just to kind of add a little bit of a embellishment touch to something that was pretty simple. Gibson and I went on a little drive and then got some ice cream, and so I took a picture. He wanted to drive out to where there's some like windy roads and bumpy roads and stuff. And that was really pretty because we went at golden hour. So the pictures of the sunset and just the colors on the ground are really, really pretty. But I just used this one. I chopped it in half, and I used the View. I forget what the actual kit's called. Is it called Adjust Your View? I'm not really sure, but it's, again, Print and Pray Shop, Illustrated Faith, Elaine Davis. Like, I just, everything that they do is so pretty. So I used the little section of the viewfinder little thing and the picture of the ice cream because we went to Thrifty's afterwards, and then just did a little journaling there. Lots of fun colors. And here were a couple of pictures of Marshall and Charlie snuggling in the really cozy blanket. So I made this one real simple and just did a couple of word strips, and then used the black and white version of the viewfinder little card. And then the last, oh, there's my punch template. I use a little template so that's how I know where to punch all of my page protectors and traveler's notebook inserts. So the last day of the month, actually, yeah, I did finish March, was we went to Sam's Club, and Marshall was not really in a good mood. He was kind of irritated about something, and so I don't know, I mean, this, I feel like sometimes such a God thing, but the checker was kind of a younger kid. I would say he was probably in his really early 20s, but he was just talking to Marshall, and he's like, "Hey bud, you want to come back here and scan all this stuff with me? I'll help you learn I'll teach you how to load up a cart." And so he helped Marshall. He showed Marshall where to put things and how to not stack, you know, things on top of the bread. And it was just really cool, and it really cheered him up. So I used a couple of Ellie Studio cards here, and then just used some tickets and little staples for some added embellishments. And then here I used the new mini dated stamp. It's super cute, and it fits awesome inside of a lot of different size labels and little sections on Ellie's Studio cards. So really, really fun. So that, my friends, is all of March in my 2018 family album. I have already started April in my second album. This album is from Felicity Jane, and it was from their December kit, their Joy kit. And I picked up 2 because I thought that I would use them both for December daily, and then I didn't, but I'm glad that I hung on to them because now I have them for my big projects here that are really taking up a lot of room. I'm really glad that I have these very deep albums, but I'm gonna have to pick up another one. I think I'm gonna have to go Studio Calico or Ali Edwards for my next couple of albums, but that's a pretty wide spine. We'll see. We'll see how my April, May, and June album goes. I have a feeling it's going to be just as thick. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you have questions, you know that you can always leave them in the comment section and I'll get answers for you if I can. And I really enjoyed sharing a look inside my album, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. We'll talk really soon, guys. Bye!